Hello, this is Lucas, and in this video I'm going to be going over basic operators in JavaScript. So to start off, let's say we have a value of x and we equal this to 10. There's a way that we can convert this number, x, which is 10, into a negative number. So if we do something like x is equal to minus x, what this is going to do is it's going to get the value for x, which is 10, and it's just going to turn it into a negative number, and we're going to start it in the value of x. So if we have an alert with just x, you can see that the value that we get is a minus 10. So all we are doing is we are converting 10, which is a positive, to a negative number. Okay, so the next thing that we can do is we can go over through the basic math operations. So for example, let's say we have two numbers of, let's do 10, and then let's do x is equal to 10, and then we have y is equal to, let's say, 5. Right? What we can do is we can do an alert, and we can do 10 plus y, not 10 plus y, x plus y. All this is going to do is it's going to add these two numbers together and then alert that. So if you refresh that, you can see we get 15 because we are adding these two numbers together. Obviously, we can also do the same thing with the minus. So that's going to be 10 minus 5, which we get 5. There's also multiplication, which is the star sign, which we get 50. Then the very last one, we have the divide, which is just a slash. And you can see we get an answer of 2. Now, there's two more that I want to go over. One of them is the remainder, or in other words, it's the modulo. So, for example, we have two values here. And let's say I put in a modulo here, which is just a percentage sign. What this means is it's going to be 10 divided by 5. Okay, let me do this in a comment. It'll be 10 divided by 5, which is equal to 2, okay, with a remainder of 0. So this will print out 0 because it has 0 remainder, okay. So if we go back to here, refresh this, you can see we get an answer of 0. Now let's change this up. Let's do 4 here. So what's going to happen here is it's going to be 10 divided by 4, which is equal to 2 with a remainder of 2, okay. So the answer here that's going to print out is 2, because this just gets the remainder when we divide two values. So go back to the page, need to save this, refresh this, you can see we get an answer of 2. Okay, so that's what the modulo is. Now, next one that we are going to be going over is the square, or we can do the cubed as well, or so on and so on. So let's remove these two values here. Alright, let's remove all this, and let's go into the alert. Let's say that we have a number 2, and we have two star signs, and then another 2. What this means is it's 2 squared. So 2 squared is equal to 4. So we have another alert, and we have something like, say, 2 squared 3. Okay. Let's see what the answer for this is. So let's go back, refresh this. You can see this is 4 because 2 squared is 4, and then 2 cubed is 8. Okay, and we can keep doing this. So we get alert 2. Now, for example, 5. So this is cubed, squared, and then we can just keep going. Refresh this. We get 4, 8, and then we get 32. Okay. Now, we can also have a square root or a cubic root. So the way we do that is, let's say we have an alert here. Now inside here, let's say we want to get 4. Then we do the 2 stars. And then we can just put in a half here. And what this is, it's to the power of a half, which is just the same as a square root. Okay, and then we can have the same thing. We can have an alert. So we have the value 8. Pass in 2 stars. Then we can have 1/3. which is the exact same as a cubic root. So you can get 2, and then we also get 2 for 8 of a cubic root. Now, let's say we want to use these operators on strings, for example. Now, strings work a bit differently, right? So, let's say we have a string s, which is equal to hello plus world. Well, all this will do is it will just combine these two strings into one. Let's just have a little space here. So it's going to be hello plus world. So it's just going to add these two strings together and store in s. So if you go back to here, you can see all we get is hello world. Okay. So this is a pretty easy one to get a grasp of. However, whenever we start mixing numbers and strings, it gets a little bit more complicated. Okay. So let's say that we have, let's remove this altogether. Now in the alert, let's say that we have a string of 1 and we want to add this to a number. Now, what do you think that the answer is going to be? Well, we'll see now. It is 1, 2. So whenever we add a string and a number, the number automatically gets converted into a string. So it's just 1. So imagine instead of it being like this, it's actually like this. Okay? Even though we pass this number in as a 2, whenever we add a string and a number, the number gets converted to a string. Okay? And it doesn't really matter which way we do it. So for example, the first value can be a string and the second value can be a number, or the other way around. The first value can be a number and the second value can be a string, and we will get the exact same output as 1, 2. Okay? But now, this is where it gets a little bit tricky. If we have another value here, for example, let's say we have 2. Let's change this to 1, for example. And then let's say we add 2 plus 1. Okay? Now, from my last example that I just did, if we are adding a string and a number, then that means that the number should be converted into a string. However, it doesn't actually work like that in this case. What happens now is, because these two are numbers, okay, these two will be added, okay, so it will always go from these two first. So, okay, so if you look at these, so this is a number and this is a number, so it's going to add these together. So the answer is going to be 4 for these ones. Okay, so far we have 4. Now this is a number still, but because now we are adding 4 plus a string, because if we add any number with a string, this will get converted into a string. So then the answer is actually going to be 41. Okay, because we do this operation first, and then whatever the answer is for this, we do that answer with this. And because this is a string, this answer will be converted into a string. Okay? These two are not strings, so these will be added as normal, as two integers, so it'll be 4, and then we'll just add, or the answer will be converted into a string. Okay? Now, let's say we do it the other way. Well, let's say we have an alert. Say the very first value is a string, so let's say we do 1. Now let's say we do plus 2 and plus 2. Now, it's going to work in the exact same way. We're going to start off with the first number, which is a string, and we're going to add a string to a number. Now, because we are adding a string with a number, this will be converted into a string. So the answer for these two is going to be 1, 2. And this is now a string. So let me just do this. Okay, so the string of 1 plus the number of 2 is going to be converted into a string, which is going to be 1, 2. Now, whenever we add this one, what we are doing is we are adding the answer of this plus this. But because the answer of this has been converted into a string, what we are actually doing is we are adding a string with a number. And whenever we add a string with a number, this gets converted into a string. So the actual answer is 1, 2, 2 as a string. And we can quickly look at that. If you run this, you can see the first answer is 44, because we add these two numbers first, the first two numbers, which is 4, But then because we are adding a string, well, 4 and a string is just going to be 4 and 1, which is 41. Then the exact same thing here. We go to here, you get 122 because we are adding a string firstly. So we add the first operator first. So it's a string and a number, which is just a string. So it's going to be 1, 2. And then the answer of this is a string. So it's 12. So we are adding a string with a number, which is going to be converted into a string, which the answer is 1, 2, 2. Now, the add or the addition operator is the only operator that works in this way with strings. Okay. Now, if we have numbers or if we have any other operators, so let's just create an alert. Let's say we have 6 minus a string. Okay. What's going to happen here is, because we are using a minus and not an addition, this is going to be converted into a number. Okay. So adding or using the add operator is the only operator that works this way in a string. Any other operator like a minus, multiplication, division, okay, the string gets converted into a number. So it's kind of like a vice versa. Whenever we add a string and a number, the number gets converted into a string. Whenever we use any other operation, the string gets converted to a number. So it's the opposite way around. Okay, so let's just have 2 examples here just to make it a bit easier. So let's say we have another alert. We have one example with a number and a string. Then let's just say we have another example with 2 strings. Let's say we do 6 divided by 2. Okay, let's remove this. We don't need this anymore. Go back, refresh this. You can see the first answer is 4 because we are taken away. So because we are taken away, any strings are converted to numbers. So it's 6 minus 2, which is 4. Same thing with strings. Whenever we use any operator that is not an addition, all strings are converted to numbers. So it's going to be 6 divided by 2, which is 3. Okay? I went over if we have 2 values. Let's say we have a value of x and that's equal to a string of 5. Let's say we have another value of y is equal to, let's say we give the value of a string 3. Okay? And if we add these 2 numbers together, so let's say we do x plus y, as we've seen before, because these 2 are strings, the answer is going to be 53. Because we are adding 2 strings, and when we add 2 strings, both values are converted to a string, so it's 53. Okay? But let's say that we want to somehow add these 2 numbers together even though they are strings. So we want to get an answer of 8. So the way we'll do that is, so we have x plus y, and what we'll do is at the start of x we'll add a plus, and at the start of y we will also add a plus. Because now technically what we are doing is we are adding a number with a number. Okay? And now what we can do is, we can go back to our page, refresh this, you can see now we get an answer of 8. Even though x and y, they're both strings, by doing this, we are actually adding a number. Okay? Now this is a number x and a number y. They're no longer strings. And then we add these 2 numbers together and we get an answer of 8. Now I went over when we add 2 numbers together. So if we have an alert here, and if we add 2 numbers together, or let's say we have 3 numbers in this example. Let's say we have a 2 multiplied by 2 plus 3, for example. So the way this works is we always start from the very start. So we do the first 2 operations first. Okay? So we do 2 by 2, which is 4, plus 3, which is 7. But let's say we want to do these 2 operations first. Well, we'll just do it in the exact same way that we do it in maths. So we will put the numbers that we want to be added up first in brackets. Okay, so this will be executed first or calculated first, which will give us an answer of 5, and then we'll just multiply by 2. If we don't have these brackets, well then we'll just start off from the left. So we'll do 2 multiplied by 2, and which is 4, and then we will add 3. Because we have these 2 numbers in brackets, we will do this operation first, and then we will multiply it by this value after. Okay? Okay, so now what we can do is we can have two assignments in one operation. Okay, let's do an example. Let's do x is equal to 1, and let's do let y is equal to 3, for example. Okay, now let's say we have another one. Let z, let's say we equal this to 3. But now what we can do is we can have another operation. So let's say we do a minus, and then in brackets, what we can do is we can assign another value. So let's say we have x, we want to change x. So what we can do is we can do x is equal to, say we do y plus 1. So what is the answer of this? How does this actually work? So the way this works is we are going to assign x to whatever the answer is for this. So the answer is 4. Okay, so x is going to be 4. Okay, but then what we are doing is we are getting the answer of this operation, which is 4, and we are going to be taking away 3 from 4, which is going to be equal to z. So whenever we print out x is going to be the answer for this, which is 4, and z is going to be 3 minus 4. Okay, so that's how we can assign that's how we can have two assignments in just one operation, which makes things so much easier. Now, the next thing that we can do is called a chain assignment. Okay, so usually operations work from left to right, but with a chained assignment, it works from right to left. So let's say we have let x, y, and then we have a z. We don't assign them any values, okay, not for now. Let's say we do x is equal to y is equal to z is equal to 2 plus 2. Okay, now how is this going to work? So usually in operations we'll start from left to right, which technically this is what we are doing, because this is the operation. Okay, these are assignments, but this is an operation. Okay, so operations still work from left to right, so it will work from left to right. So if we have another one here, what's going to happen is we are going to work from left to right. So it's going to be 2 plus 2, which is 4, and plus 2, which is 6. But with a chained assignment, it's going to work from right to left. So what I mean by that is, firstly, this chained assignment is the very last one. Okay, so there's no more assignments after this. Okay, so there's no more equal signs after this. This is the very last one. So we are going to work from right to left. So because this is the last one, we are going to do this first. Okay, which is 6. Okay, now because this is 6, we are going to equal z to 6. And then we are going to equal y to whatever z is, which is 6. And then we are going to equal y to whatever y is, or we are going to equal x to whatever y is, which is 6. Okay, so operations work from left to right, so from left to right. And then chained assignments work from right, so this is right to left. What we can do is, let's say I have y plus 2 in here. Okay, it's going to work in the exact same way. Okay, so we start off with the very first one. Okay, the very first chained assignment, which is 6. So 6 is going to equal to z, or z is going to equal to 6. And then what we are going to do is y is going to equal to 6 plus 2. Okay, so y is still equal to 6. Okay, y is equal to whatever this value is, which is 6. But then x is going to equal to whatever this operation is. So it's going to be 6, because z is 6, because 2 plus 2 plus 2 is 6. So that's what z is. Y is equal to 6. Okay, but then x is equal to 6 plus 2, which is 8. Okay, now the next thing that we can go over is, let's say we have a value of x again. We give a 2. Okay, now what we can do is we can do x plus equal to, let's do a value of 5. What this means is, it's all this means is is x is equal to x plus 2 or x plus 5. Okay, so all this does is we are going to equal x to 5 plus x. Okay, that's all this does, is we get the value that is for x, and we add whatever value x is, so it's 2, to this value, and we equal it to x. Okay, so in other words, so we have x here. Okay, we add x with 5. Okay, so we add x with 5, and the answer to that, which is 7, we equal that to x. Okay, so that's all that does. We get x, we add it with 5, and we equal it back to x. We can do this for anything. We can do this, for example, with multiplication as well. So the way this will work is the exact same way. We get x, which is 2, multiplied by 5, which is 10, and then we equal whatever answer that is back to x. Okay? Let's say that we have a operation here though. Let's say we do 5 plus 5. But how is this going to work then? Well, it's going to work in the exact same way. Okay? Because we, with operations, we work from left to right. So we will do this first. Okay? So with a blockchain, we will always start from right to left. So whenever we do assignments, we always start from right to left. So we will do this first, because this is to the right of it, the most right. So we'll do 5 plus 5, which is 10, first. And then it's the exact same thing as doing x multiply equal to 10. Okay, so that's the exact same thing as doing that. Okay? So having this is the exact same thing as this. Okay? It's the exact same way as we just did before. Okay? So that's with that. Now we can do something with increments and decrements. So let's say we have another value. I'll leave it as x is equal to 2. What we can do is we can do x plus plus. Now by doing x plus plus, what that means is it's just x plus 1. Okay? That's all that is. X plus 1. When we do plus plus. If we do x minus minus, well then you might have guessed it. It's x minus 1. Okay? So by doing this, we increment this value, x, which is 2, just by 1. So it'll become 3. Okay? Same thing with this one. We have a value of 2, and we decrement it by 1. So x minus 1 is just 1. So 2 minus 1 is just 1. Okay, so that's all these two are. This will decrement it by 1, and this will increment our value by 1. And the very last thing that we're going to do in this video is we're going to use the comma. Okay, so let's say that we want, let x is equal to, and I'll just do a bracket in here. Let's have two operations here. So let's do something like 1 plus 2, separated by a comma, and then we do 3 plus 4, for example. So the way this will work is because we have a comma, okay, the answer to this is going to be 1 plus 2. Okay, so let's just do this here. It's going to be 1 plus 2, which is equal to 3. And then we do a second operation, which is 3 plus 4, okay, which is equal to 7. Okay, now the thing is with this, the answer to this is actually going to be 7. Okay, now the reason why we return 7 and not 3 plus 7, which is 10, is because whenever we use a comma, okay, now this is a very rare occasion that this is used. Okay, it's usually used whenever we do small calculations. Okay, 1 plus 2 is going to be 3. Then, but because we have a comma, the answer to this is going to be discarded. Okay, and the answer is going to be 3 plus 4. Right, whatever the last operation is, that's going to be the answer. So if we have another operation like 5 plus 5, okay, the way this is going to work is, let's remove this, it's going to be 1 plus 2, which is 3. Then because we have a comma, this is going to be discarded. And then we do 3 plus 4, which is 7. But because we have a comma, this is also going to be discarded. And now we have 5 plus 5, which is 10. There's no comma after that, so the answer to x is going to be 10. Okay? And that is about it for this video on the operators. Hope this video was helpful. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.